Happy Halloween. I'm Dave. I'm here with Andrew, and you're listening to BV Weekly. This week we get spooky with some black metal talk. We'll make you shudder to think, pun intended, plus new album songs, music news, and more.
So, are you a big Halloween person, Dave?
I used to be a very big Halloween person. I still love, it's still my favorite time of year. I love Halloween. But I don't know, in my old age, I'm not the Halloween person I wish I still was. I got to admit, I basically have no costume. I still love Halloween, but in some ways I'm like a Halloween Grinch now.
Oh, man.
I used to put a lot of thought into my costume, multiple costumes a year. I was way more into horror movies that, I don't know, lately less. Not that I don't appreciate, I still appreciate it. I'm just not as much of a participant.
Well, in your more active Halloween days, what was your favorite part about Halloween?
You know, preparing my classic monster costumes. I went trick-or-treating for a really long time. I don't know if I should admit this, but I definitely was still trick-or-treating into my early 20s.
Wow. Yeah, no, I don't think I trick-or-treated past, definitely not past high school, but I feel like, when I was in college, I don't know what your situation was, but I was on a campus and it was just all weekend, Halloween weekend was just tons of Halloween. I feel like I had to have multiple costumes because you knew that both Friday and Saturday were going to be Halloween parties. No, and then if it fell in the middle of the week, I feel like people would just try to do parties the weekend before and after.
That's actually a good point. And that sort of happened even though it's on Friday this year. A lot of people were in costume this past weekend in New York.
Yeah, I knew someone who went to a Halloween party this past weekend. I was surprised.
Yeah. So even I went out Saturday night and there were people in costume everywhere. It was nice to get a little bit of that early Halloween. And I always used to love the multiple nights is the best.
Mm-hmm.
Making the most of it. And I was going to say, though, about the trick-or-treating all the time, I do feel like maybe at some point I was more out there throwing toilet paper in trees than actually trick-or-treating.
Ooh, mischief night activities.
Yeah, no, the mischief, definitely got into the mischief. But this year, I will be taking one of my sons is dressed up as Ghostface from Scream. He has not seen that movie or anything, but he thinks it's really cool with the blood going in the face and everything. So grandma's not thrilled, but that'll be fun.
Relatable because I had that mask and I was that a few years before ever seeing the movie. It just was you saw it in every Halloween store and you were like, I gotta have that.
Yeah, it's iconic. And we did spend some time in the Halloween store. It's true. It's kids are being presented with Chucky and Michael Myers and Jason, and it's usually way before before they've seen them.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm a little
my second favorite part of owning that mask was once I decided I'd worn it enough and it wasn't going to be on my face anymore, I would put it outside the lamppost outside my house, and so when trick-or-treaters would come, they would see the Scream mask, but it would be lit up by the light behind it.
Oh yeah, nice.
That was a fun little perk of having that mask.
I also can't claim I'm really listening to a lot of Halloween music because I don't know, no parties for me this year, but I kind of listen to Halloween music every day. So that's maybe I'll be blasting a little more typo negative Danzig and Dead Can Dance than usual.
Well, some musicians would say that every day is Halloween.
There you go. Do you have some favorite Halloween songs?
Yes, I am big into making Halloween playlists.
Name 5.
Okay. I gotta start obvious. Misfits Halloween. I feel like you just have to say it, even though it's beyond obvious. It's always the last song on my playlist, the one that it all builds up to. I would even say the AFI cover of Misfits Halloween should be on a playlist, as well as the Misfits original. But Misfits Halloween, one more that's also, I think, obvious, but maybe not necessarily, is Screamin' Jay Hawkins, I Put a Spell on You, specifically the original, because there's a lot of covers, and I will say that Spotify has some of the covers have more streams than the Screamin' Jay Hawkins original. So you have to have the Screamin' Jay Hawkins recording of he. I mean, that is the reason that song is so good for Halloween, is the delivery he gave on it. And then to be a little bit less obvious, I guess, like, you know, as much as I want to say Monster Mash or something, Every Day's Halloween by Ministry, as previously referenced, has to be on a playlist. The Witch by the Sonics, I think, is a really good one. I think it you know, a lot of people pick Halloween songs because of like the name just has like a word in it that could be Halloween, but I think that song genuinely sounds creepy, and that's important. And then one more, I'll say Freaks Come Out at Night by Houdini, WHO Dini, like the 80s rap group. I feel like that's a very creepy song. It should be on a Halloween playlist.
Thank you. Good list.
You're welcome.
I'm shuddering just thinking about it.
Well, I don't know if you're going to a Halloween party this year, or if you'll be out trick or treating with your kids, but it's interesting because the Halloween night is also a very crucial World Series game where Toronto could win. I won't be watching because I will be at a Halloween party, but it's a big night for that as well. Last Halloween was in New York. I saw Anxious and Touche Amore, separate shows. I don't know if it was Halloween proper, but it was the night I was going to a Halloween party, so I showed up to those shows in my costume. But so there's always like these, you know, other events. But I'm not going to be watching the World Series. If I was watching a sporting event on Halloween night, it would be the Knicks Bulls game. I'm very excited that Knicks season is back. And this particular game, pretty Halloween friendly. Anecdote here is that it coincides with the new MF Doom Knicks collab. Did you see any of that stuff?
I think it looks amazing. And
Yeah.
too bad. I mean, you've got to, well, you're not going to the Knicks game, but like, you got to wear the MF Doom mask if you are.
Good point. That would be, yeah, that's like what I mean when I said like a little Halloween centric. But yeah, I didn't even think of wearing an MF Doom mask to a Knicks game. But I'm not a huge fan of like crossover merch like that, but the MF Doom Knicks hat is, I may need to purchase it.
No, I mean, as of this recording, we haven't seen the prices yet, but I imagine everything is crazy, but it's so much of it looks so cool. The sweatshirt, and then of course there's new action figure fashioned after the starting lineup, the classic baseball sports starting lineup action figures, and it's MF Doom in a Knicks jersey. It's all very cool.
Yeah, definitely. So what did you do this past week?
I had an eventful Saturday because I made it first to Shudder To Think. Sorry if you haven't gotten the reference up to now. 90s Discord signed turned major label band Shudder To Think are reunited, as we've talked, I think, multiple times about, but they finally played New York City for the first time, which was, you know, their home base sort of. And back in the day, so it was like they played two special small shows. First, Nightclub 101, and then Mercury Lounge straight after that, both very close to each other in the Lower East Side. Nightclub 101 being the new name of what used to be the Pyramid Club, which was, as they even said on stage, I don't know if Shudder To Think played Pyramid Club, but they definitely remember attending some shows there, including most notably, he said, Nathan Larson said from stage he remembered him and Craig in 1989, saw Psychic TV. I was going to say Throbbing Gristle. Psychic TV in 1989 at Pyramid Club, in the very room that we were seeing Shudder To Think reunited in. And they were talking about how they remember Genesis, or the band, whatever, released noxious gas into the crowd, quote, as they are to do. So that was funny, but also just, you know, people could feel the history in that room, and it was a reunited historical band. So it was a very special show. I was really excited to be in attendance at that one because it really also brought out like so many of their old friends and their current family and collaborators. And of course that includes multiple members from the cast of The State and Wet Hot American Summer, which, if you don't know, Craig Wedren, the singer of Shudder To Think, he actually was childhood friends with David Wayne from the State, Wet Hot American Summer, et cetera, et cetera. And they went on to do many things together. Craig worked on the music for the State, and then Craig did the music for Wet Hot American Summer. And now Craig is very notable in the soundtrack world. He does a lot of music for TV, including he did the theme song for Yellow Jackets, which is a pretty new, good, relevant show. And then actually Jarek Bischoff, who is not an original member of Shudder to Think, but is now playing in Shudder to Think, also does a lot of soundtrack work with him. He was in there. Oh yeah, but about the State. So David Wayne flew in. I guess he lives in LA now. Flew in for the show. I saw on Instagram he wrote came to New York just for the weekend or something. So he doesn't live here. But also in attendance was Kerry Kenny Silver and Paul Rudd, who was standing right in front of me. And then like they had a whole crew of people. So it was just, it felt very 90s again for that reason as well. And also in attendance, Nathan Larson is married to Nina from the Cardigans. She was also there, as was their son, covers title fight songs on Instagram, by the way, fun fact. And they definitely, at one point, Nathan said they were playing and learned one of their Shudder to Think songs that the son requested. So it went out to him, and Nathan asked if he thought they did a good job. So yeah, it was cute and special in that way. And plus, it was great to hear them. And more importantly, they also played 2 new songs that they released just days before that show on Saturday.
Are they? I thought they are not out yet. Are they out, or was just like the vinyl out at the merge day? Because it officially comes out in November.
Okay. I did think the vinyl was immediately available. I have no idea. So then they played both of them, and you could feel like Craig seemed almost more energized playing the new songs, which is not surprising for a musician. Sometimes playing 30-year-old material is not as fun as playing something you just wrote. And not to say he did a bad job on the old material, but you could feel that, and you could feel like they felt like they're a band again. So I won't be surprised if those are not the last new songs we hear. And if you missed these shows, which they still have a few more coming up in other cities, but if you missed these shows, I have a feeling there will be more.
Yeah, I'm really excited to hear the new songs, and I'm excited Shudder to Think is back in general, because they kind of seem like a band to me that they never like got as big as I think they deserved, and they ended on, I think, not the greatest note. And I feel like there was some kind of, after getting sucked into the major label feeding frenzy of the era, I think their last album probably didn't sell as much as the label hoped. And
well, hold on, let me stop you there. That's all true, and they never fit in. But also after that major label album, which I think Craig has even said he was disappointed with the results they really went for it with that album. They put everything into it, and they did not try to make it radio friendly by any means. But Craig also was then diagnosed with cancer, something like a year after that album came out.
Right. He got sick.
Yeah, that's a huge part of their story, as is they did put another album out after that.
I'm actually talking about 50,000 BC, not Pony Express record.
Oh, okay.
Pony Express record, I think, is, one of the best albums of the 90s. Obviously it didn't sell that well, but I think I'm talking about its follow-up, 50,000 BC, which I believe was like probably even less of a commercial.
Oh yeah, definitely.
And then I think at that point, I feel like there was definitely, in that major label feeding frenzy, it was like just as quickly as you got sucked in, if you didn't deliver a second time, there's so many stories of great bands that sort of just like have these later 90s albums on majors that they broke up after. Like, it's not a coincidence that we've seen that happen to multiple bands.
Yeah, and Craig, so that's a post-cancer album, and I think they've talked about like conflict and direction between the members, like exactly what they wanted it to be. I don't know if maybe Craig wanted to keep it weirder than the other guys, and it didn't really translate at that point too. Like, they were one of the band's band, they Pearl Jam and Smashing Pumpkins both brought them out on tour. They had a lot of support and a lot of fans. I do think I don't know if they're not talked about as influential as many other bands from their peers, but they certainly have been name checked by people, and you can hear them in. I actually think it's funny. This is not kind of a confirmed fact, but someone on the internet has said that they think they're influential in like Perfume Genius. Now, Perfume Genius hasn't cited Shudder to Think, but you can definitely hear that.
Yeah, I think you can. I mean, St. Vincent did that Fleetwood Mac cover with Craig. And so I'm sure, and just based on her guitar style, I'm sure she's influenced by them too.
Yeah. And I mean, you hear, Deftones have said they're fans, and I think anything in kind of that like progressive-y, like
Incubus have covered them.
There you go. So that's a huge one. So they are influential and an important band that needs to be rediscovered. And it almost like this reunion came at the perfect time, because even maybe that they knew it was happening, but Pitchfork just did a reevaluation or a Sunday review of that album, Pony Express record. Yeah. And gave it like a 9.0 or something.
Which is, I mean, I mean, they had that on like their original best albums of the 90s list.
Okay.
So it is, I mean, I don't know. I guess they never technically reviewed it though. So I guess it fits the criteria for it can get a Sunday review. But yeah, I consider Pitchfork to have been behind that record for the majority of like its existence.
Right. It got a 9.1, and we're like this really thoughtful review by Philip Sherborne.
Yeah. I mean, I'm sure that definitely, adds some fuel to the fire. But yeah, I mean, I just think it's one of the coolest records of its time. And it's like, yeah, it is nothing like the bands that they were on Discord before that. It's not like Fugazi, like it's not like Jawbox, who also went to a major and who shared a drummer with them on that record. It's just so much weirder than all the music that, like, all the bands they were kind of associated with. And then it was like, definitely, I consider them to be one of the strangest major label signings of the 90s alt rock feeding frenzy. I mean, nothing about Shudder to Think makes me think that they could have had sort of a real mainstream breakthrough, but they also were poppier than like Discord. Like Craig is a singer, and like it's like you can see why maybe the Discord fan base didn't like them either sometimes, and it's like they just kind of didn't fit in anywhere.
No, and they've talked about that as well. Like the Discord fans, the Fugazi, etc. fans did not take to them.
Right.
They were like, no, we don't get, what is this band doing?
And those bands are often the most exciting, right? Where a band that no one seems to get, no matter where they go, usually, I mean, that often means you're doing something right. You're at least doing something interesting. So I think that, this record is ripe for rediscovery. Just on the
X-French t-shirt did get MTV play at the time.
Yeah, which is, I mean, it couldn't have lasted too long. I don't know if I had to guess. I mean, we were talking recently about Sugar not quite getting as big as they deserved on MTV, and they were a lot more palatable than Shudder to Think. But yeah, I mean, when I say this record, I'm talking about Pony Express record. I mean, they have a lot of good albums, but I think that's for sure, like, start there, in my opinion.
I don't know.
No?
The earlier material, I ride for that.
No, I mean, fair enough. Totally.
I would actually think the first two records are more accessible.
Well, I mean, accessible is, I mean, I like how weird Pony Express record is.
Yes, yeah, definitely.
That's one of my favorite albums of the 90s. And I like that it fits in nowhere. I don't think that there's, the Pitchfork review is good timing. I don't think anything else about their return is sort of like timely, so to speak, other than just it's an album that remains ripe for rediscovery.
Correction, I was referring to the first two Discord records, especially the second one, Funeral at the Movies. I guess those are technically their second and third albums, though. But yeah,
got it.
Keep going.
But yeah, I just think that, I hope they get the rediscovery they deserve. I hope the new music is great. How did it sound live? The new songs?
Great.
That's awesome.
Yeah. No, like I was saying, I thought they really he sounded excited to be playing new songs, especially one of them. And I forget if it was the A side or I think it was the B side, which most hit me as like, wow, that is great. And you feel the passion coming through. So
That's awesome. Yeah.
a thing that separated Shudder To Think from a lot of their peers is they did not sing about politics. And a lot of their lyrics were just, just weird words that Craig dreamed up in like acid trips or whatever it was. So they're kind of timeless for that reason as well.
Yeah. No, I mean, it's definitely just, it is deeply strange music on all levels. And yet it is, it is a bit like weirdly accessible. If your brain is wired for the weird, then, it's still melodic, catchy music in just a very oddball way. So yeah, cool, really cool band. Glad they're back. Hope they keep going.
And then from there, I rushed all the way to Bushwick to go to that speed show in the Xanadu roller rink that we talked about in length last week. And that was Speed, End It, and MS Paint. It was awesome as expected. So I won't go too into it. But I do want to highlight, because Speed is just next level. And I think so many people agree. And the merch line was like 8 miles long. We talked last week about how they're becoming very much a t-shirt band that you see everywhere. And that was just proven again. There were a bunch of people in Speed shirts at the Speed show. But then also, like I said, the merch line was so long. They also had they had a vinyl that was limited to 100 only for the show, which had like the Sick of It All logo on it too, which I thought was a cool thing, because Lou from Sick of It All is very sick right now. And then their Speed is one of those, constantly talks about how special it is to play in New York, because New York hardcore, they're in the home of hardcore, Speed, they're constantly giving these motivational type speeches about how exciting it is to be part of hardcore and playing in New York and shouting out bands like Madball and Sick of It All. I think one of them was wearing a Madball shirt, and Danny Diablo from Crown of Thorns was in the audience, by the way. But then this Speed it's part of their whole thing. While Lou from Sick of It All is sick, to then make this record in New York City with the Sick of It All logo interpolated on it or whatever they did. That was a cool little merch thing. But then also they had some limited edition shirts too, I think, just for the show. And actually the Speed shirt, the Speed clothing brand / hardcore band Speed. But then I just want to like really talk about End It for 1 second, because that was actually my favorite performance of the night. I've actually seen End It, I don't know how many times, nearing 10 times, I feel like at this point. And 2 times I've seen them really stood out. We've always talked about End It as possibly like the next great hardcore band. And it was originally just based on this one EP that that everybody loved and this potential. And then they took forever to come out with their full length, which I don't know, it's probably not that long, but it's still full length. They came out this year. And that's a great album. You should go check it out if you haven't. Also on Flat Spot, their Speed's label mates. But I've seen End It in situations where I don't think they're able to shine. One great example is opening for Turnstile at that Under the K Bridge giant show, big barrier, big stage, far away, huge Turnstile, mainstream crowd outside. They were good there, but it still felt like seeing an opener. I can't fully explain it. But I've seen like a year or 2 ago at it wasn't actually South by Southwest. It was the unofficial show that Flat Spot did, where and End It at that show. That was also a packed outdoor show, but it was in this cooler location, dusty, no barrier type, Austin-y type place. And End It felt like the headliner of that show. And that was the moment where I was like, really like, okay, End It can be a big band. So I just want to shout out Akil's singing voice, which he really showcases on the new album via a cover of Maximum Penalty's Do You Love Me? So he sang this at the show. It really showcases his voice. That was also a major highlight of the show. And it always is when you hear Akil singing. And I just think his voice in general is so good that, you can tell he has a good singing voice, even when he's doing the more hardcore thing. And people were going equally nuts for that set too. So to me, that was actually my favorite part. It also helps that End It ended like around midnight, and Speed was still playing near what, like past 1 a.m. or something. So maybe I was a little tired, but yeah, that was a late one.
Yeah, I couldn't believe how late it went, especially because I feel like I've gotten accustomed to hardcore shows actually being on the earlier side usually.
Yeah.
But yeah, I agree that Akil, you could tell he can sing when he screams. I wish he would sing on original Ended songs. The fact that they finally released an album and he only did it on a cover makes me wonder if he's pretty much doesn't want to do that. But I mean, if they ever change their mind or whatever, I think it would sound really good. But I guess we'll see.
Yeah. I mean, if they already haven't broken up. So hopefully that means, they're in it for the long haul. And I would love to see them go a little in that direction too. Because
yeah, it would be cool.
they feel like a big band. They deserve to be a big band. And I think, and I don't mean this in a sellout way, that would be one way where they could be a little more of a big band by leaning into that skill that they
Nothing wrong
possess.
with a little bit of clean vocals.
Yeah. Yeah, like you said, you're used to hardcore shows being early. Usually the hardcore show needs to exit the venue before the dance party starts, which is how the venue really makes their money. In this case, the hardcore show had to start after the roller skating ended. So it's something like that.
So it was an inverse scenario.
Yeah.
What did you make of Xanadu?
Oh, just what an amazing place. It's, it's not your grandfather's roller rink. They have, I think they have, what was it? Oh God, Frito pie with tuna tartare on top. Like they have a big menu, the drinks, the prices. This is a gentrified Williamsburg, Bushwick.
It's very Bushwick,
roller rink.
Yes.
But it's just like this amazing, fun, cool looking place. What great setting for this huge hardcore show. The lights, we're standing on where people usually roller skate, but there's a full stage. And I know they have a lot of DJs there, themed DJs for when you're roller skating. And that seems like it would be a lot of fun.
Yeah. Like I said, I have gone to a couple of those. It is a lot of fun. Yeah.
So it's a really nice place, and I could see why it's popular.
Yeah, it's been pretty cool. I'm glad that roller skating wasn't allowed during the Speed set.
Yeah, no, very much key point. And they did have, never mind. I realized they've been having more shows there than I even realized. This was not the first show there by any means.
So given that it's spooky season, the spookiest day of spooky season, I thought maybe we could check in on some black metal.
Yeah. I mean, we're like thinking about our favorite albums of the year already. It's getting to that time. Well, we're always thinking about our favorite albums of the year, but
it's kind of an ongoing thought.
It's getting to the point where we have to really put it into a list form and put it out there. But
so while racking my brain more than I even usually do about what is going to make my favorite albums of the year list, I kind of occurred to me that it feels like there's more widespread excitement around black metal, or at least American black metal, this year than there has been in a few years. I mean, in the early 2010s, I feel like black metal was kind of the go-to subgenre of metal for maybe people who were not completely immersed in metal. Like, you had Death Heaven, you had Liturgy, you had Alcest, you had these like black metal bands kind of crossing over, people pointing out like they're not that different from shoegaze bands a lot of the time. And I think that was a big sell. And, it's black metal never went away, obviously. Like, I think every year we get great black metal records and we talk about them on BV every year. But it feels like, as far as like the kind of the subgenre of metal that became like the subgenre of choice amongst like non-exclusively metal communities, seems to have been death metal for like the last, like for quite a while now. I mean, like I think Blood Incantation being the most example of like the like sort of the most prominent example of a death metal band that really crossed over. And I think by getting very progressive rock and psychedelic rock also like helps with that. And then you had Tomb Mole doing something similar, and then Tomb Mole related bands like Dream Unending. But even just like kind of more gory meat and potatoes death metal like Sangazugabog at stuff like that has kind of, and like Undeath, like these bands have just been like really popping off. So feels like it's been a lot of death metal, like getting a lot of the attention and the excitement and like the talk, the buzz, whatever. And I don't know, it feels like black metal was getting talked about this year more than it has been in a while. And I think a lot of that had to do with Deaf Heaven releasing their best and most loved album in a long time, an album that really is like a culmination of everything they've done, especially coming off of their very non-metal clean vocal album. It's kind of this return to form for them. You know, it came after they did the 10th anniversary for Sunbather, reminded everybody how much they loved that album a decade earlier. And that, I mean, I still talk about how epic the Sunbather anniversary tour in particular was. The most epic I've ever seen Deaf Heaven was that tour. But a much newer album than Deaf Heaven that came out this month, that was, you know, the combination of the two, I think that really kind of made me have this thought, was the new Agriculture record, The Spiritual Sound. We talked a little bit about it when it came out, but since then, like, it just seems to kind of like, it keeps growing, like, now that it's out in the world, you know what I mean? Like, I've noticed a lot of talk about this record, again, in these non-exclusively metal communities. Like, I see talk for Agriculture's new record more than I see talk for, like, pretty much any other black metal record that isn't Deaf Heaven that I can think of. And have you noticed like that's Agriculture record is kind of like, but you know, becoming like, it's kind of taking that band to like the next level in a way. Like, have you seen that?
I definitely have seen that. And I think, you know, you see it in venue sizes even, because a band like Agriculture have toured through here in the past few years, and we you know, we were into their last album too. They've toured through a few times, and they typically play like,
I saw them at TVI,
right, and they typically play a place like TVI, which holds what, like 200 at most.
It's small. I'm not sure the exact capacity, but it's a small place. Yeah.
And so it's like Saint Vite, you know, Saint Vite is no longer here, but a place like that is where you would expect them to play. So they're smaller venues, and they've come, you wouldn't be surprised to see them maybe opening a slightly bigger show, but still there seems to be this ceiling in metal bands, like even who I consider like let's say a Ranzi Pazuzu, that's arguably a hypey black metal band who also like, I
mean, they also cross over with like psychedelic and prog,
exactly.
And yeah, you could see like Blood Incantation fans being at their show. It doesn't. I think what you're gonna say is you don't. But
yeah, well, I don't know about. You see Blood and Incantation at their show, but you don't necessarily see the people who only go to Blood Incantation.
Right. You don't. I mean, Blood Incantation, the last time I saw them, sold out like 750 cap elsewhere in New York. Right. So Ranzi Pazuzu is playing smaller places than where Agriculture is about to play.
Right. Some of and it's not really a black metal band, but Ulcerate is another perfect example. These bands seem like in the metal scene, they seem like, oh, they're going to come over here and they're huge, and then it's like, oh, they're at TVI again. There's like this ceiling of smaller venue for even like the most critically acclaimed, for lack of a better word, loved metal bands a lot of times, unless something is happening. So Sanguisugabog now is touring, and they're playing way huger venues. Like you said, death metal seems to have a much higher ceiling. And so I could just picture Agriculture being one of these bands that forever is playing these small shows. We might think the album's awesome, but like that's not translating. But then Agriculture, before even their last New York City show the other day, like couple weeks ago at TVI happened, they announced Bowery Ballroom as their next show, which is like a 600 cap kind of like big world venue. And
yeah, so that and also like kind of notably like not the type of bigger venue that a metal band always plays, you know?
Yeah, no, definitely.
Like I mean, capacity is capacity, but like it's not a metal package tour hitting Gramercy Theater.
Right.
But yeah, totally. Like they've already passed through the ceiling that like it wouldn't have been crazy if they had for the rest of their career. And to your point, like, I mean, they've only been around for a few years. To compare them again to like a Ranzi Pazuzu, who are a black metal band with just as much crossover appeal, have been around much, much longer.
Yeah.
Far more established. I love the first Agriculture record, the EPs that came out around it. And I thought they were going to be a band that I personally love more than most of the world does. You know, you know what those bands can be like. And I went into this new record thinking it was the best thing they'd done, but like having no inkling that it was going to catch on in a bigger way. So it feels like really like this moment where you're like, I'm seeing talk for agriculture in places that you don't always see black metal or metal talk in general. I'm seeing them announce these bigger venues so quickly in a way that you don't always see or rarely see for this kind of music. I mean, they're playing Primavera Sound next year.
Yeah, that's another great example. There's almost
they're on their same day as Panda
heavy
Bear and
music on
Geese.
there.
Yeah. Which also, like, I mean, for what it's worth, or a side note rather, related side note, Primavera Sound, we dedicated an episode to the Barcelona lineup recently, and they just announced their Portugal lineup this week, which is similar but a bit smaller as usual. Agriculture's on both. But yeah, like there is some heavier stuff. There's Knocked Loose. There's Anna von Hauswolf, whose new record we'll talk about soon. It's out today. Not that that's metal, but it's certainly dark. Melt Banana.
But it's the same thing. Like the Primavera Sound curators are amazing at what they do, and they really speak to our taste. And just I see a parallel there between like what other fest that also has idols is booking Anna von Hauswolf, or that also has the XX is also booking Anna von Hauswolf. So
they've got this like
a fest that would not too surprisingly have agriculture.
Right, they've definitely got this very like kind of specific taste that we happen to align with very closely, and it makes a lot of sense. But it is exciting to see agriculture get that booking.
Definitely, they still feel like extreme for that type of lineup.
And it's like and on a similar note too, like they are assigned to the Flenser, which is like not a exclusively metal label. There's a lot of metal on the Flenser. I almost feel like the Flenser can just be a genre of just like, if you don't know what we're talking about, you should just check out their catalog, because it would be easier to do that than for me to try to sum it up.
Catalog later in this episode as well.
Yeah, exactly. We have a Flenser record on the way that we'll talk more about. A band who toured with Agriculture and have starred in their music video. We'll just say that it's Chat Pile. But like it does kind of make sense. I think there's definitely like some things in place for Agriculture to maybe, for people who don't just like necessarily like keep up with the metal world, to kind of find them. There are these ins, and then the music like is also like, it has so much crossover appeal. I mean, one of my favorite parts about Agriculture, I would say this is going to sound really reductive in the context of this is a music podcast, but I texted someone to sort of sell them on Agriculture, and it was like, and I kind of was like, they're 90% Deaf Heaven, 10% Songs Ohio. Again, reductive, but it's like they have this like Dan, they have two singers, and Dan does this really beautiful, clean singing, a really small amount. Like it's mainly screaming, but when he sings, like it's just like heart wrenching, and it has this like folky slowcore element. So there are these little moments to latch onto that aren't. Deaf Heaven is similar, I think, which is like, like, again, go ahead and name drop like the biggest US post black metal band, black gaze, whatever, like band.
And the other one on our favorite albums of the year list this year.
Yeah. So it's like, but Deaf Heaven is similar in that way, where they have these little elements you can latch onto, like I said about Blood Incantation as well. So it's such a good album. I think even calling it black metal is like, it does it a disservice, because to me, like, there's so many different types of music on the record. There's different types of metal. There's different types of non-metal. One of the tracks, I feel is like very screamo sounding, and I think screamo and black metal are more similar than they are different. But
which I don't think is unrelated to this, whatever you want to call it, moment that black metal is maybe having with Agriculture and Deaf Heaven both, and other bands we'll mention in a second, having like kind of a bigger year, because that's happening with screamo too. So there's something about the scream reference, like back
Halloween,
to back to Halloween reference from earlier, something about the scream this year that's coming back, which people, as opposed to like up till last year it was just the death metal growl.
Yes, the shriek,
the
right?
Shriek.
Well, yeah, the shriek is back. I think that's what it kind of feels like. The shriek is back. I mean, yeah, Deaf Heaven's got, their best and most loved album in a long time. Agriculture's got this total level up moment that's becoming like such a cross, like really crossing over for them, which is amazing to see. It feels so deserved. And then like you've also got the Black Braid Lamp of Murmur co-headlining tour that just wrapped up. I don't have the exact. I know it's sold out in New York weeks in advance. I don't know how many cities were sold out, but seems like that did like, that there feels like there's a tangible excitement for the buzz around them too. I mean, they're both technically solo projects. They share the same backing band. They had done a co-headlining tour in Europe before. Now they did it in the US. They're both US based bands like Deaf Heaven and Agriculture. Black Braid's new album, Black Braid 3, we talked about in this podcast a bit, is just, I think it should be in that same conversation with Deaf Heaven and Agriculture. So much crossover appeal, so good. I just feel like instantly when I click play on it, it just kind of feels to me like, like just kind of feels next level, like something different, something that goes beyond like kind of like just your typical black metal. And I haven't heard the full new Lamp of Murmur album yet. It's out in November. The singles have been great. But again, there's real excitement for that too. So yeah, it just feels like there are these, but the combination of like sort of the comeback of Deaf Heaven with a handful of new like US kind of atmospheric black metal bands really making their mark, the way that Deaf Heaven and Liturgy and bands like that did 15 years ago, it feels like quite the moment for black metal this year.
Don't forget, of course, there are a lot of other great new black metal albums. I'll shout out two that I love this year, the great old ones, which we've mentioned on this show before. And oh gosh, a German band, Der Weg einer Freiheit, are back. They've been around. Both of those bands have been around for a while. Their new album, that's DERWEGEINER, that's enough, Freiheit. Their new album also really beautiful. Great listen. Both.
Yeah, and again, and it is always a good year for black metal.
Yeah.
This year feels like there's some more talk around it, which is great, much deserved. But yeah, I mean, if you like, I would say that those records are probably not going to get the talk that like
They're
Deaf
not
Heaven
part of what we're talking about,
right?
But
I think that anyone who likes Deaf Heaven and Agriculture would like these records too. I mean, it's like, I always feel this way, but it's like if when I meet someone or encounter someone who's just kind of like, I like Deaf Heaven, I don't go deep on black metal, like, it's really not that far removed from a lot of the other great stuff happening in black metal. So
and
I think
some people will still get mad at us for even having this conversation.
Yeah.
And treating Deaf Heaven as black metal. But yeah,
right.
that will never go away.
Right. Absolutely. It's it's all part of the game. So speaking of the Chat Pile record we were referring to, let's hop into new albums out this week. What do you think?
Yeah.
Well, two albums we've already basically referenced that are my two favorite albums out this week is the collaborative album from Chat Pile and Hayden Pedigo. It's called In the Earth Again. We definitely have talked about it a little bit on this podcast, talking about singles, and I think we did an anticipated albums episode and we gave this one some shine. But basically, we have Chat Pile, who are this sort of sludge metal noise rock band, and Hayden Pedigo, who's this like John Fahey-esque guitarist, and they come together.
Who put out an album already, or a beautiful album earlier this year as well.
Yeah, he's been around for like making his records for like over a decade, but this new record that he put out this year feels like it's his most acclaimed yet. So he's already kind of having a year. He also plays on the new Shallow Water record that we talked about on one episode. So he's been definitely like in the air this year. And so now he's got this record with Chat Pile. And I think to me, like the big kind of like the real like elevator pitch, I guess, for me on this record is that they had said in an interview in the press materials, they really didn't want it to sound more like one of their catalogs versus the other, like more like Chat Pile or more like Hayden. And I just feel like they did the perfect job of making it sound like this really interesting middle ground. So really, really cool. Picture in your head a middle ground between like ambient country guitar and sludge metal, and they found it. And then Anna von Hautzwolf, her new record Iconoclast is really good. It's like, her main instrument is pipe organ, Her last record actually was just an instrumental pipe organ record. This is her first like vocal oriented album in 7 years, since her last was Dead Magic in 2018. And I think this might even be better than Dead Magic, which we loved. It was on our favorite albums of the year list that year. It's kind of like a goth rock opera. Like it's really, really like her vocals are especially operatic. The music is there's definitely like classical influence in there for sure. And also jazz. She brought in a jazz saxophone player, and there's like these recurring saxophone motifs. Iggy Pop and Ethel Cain both have guest vocal appearances on the record, and somehow Anna has made an album where both of those very different singers sound perfectly at home. So like that's the world we're looking at, is a world where Iggy Pop and Ethel Cain just both fit snugly. And so it's really, really different than a lot of other music that I've heard in the past ever, I guess.
Is it the most Halloween album out on Halloween today?
Well, I don't know. I mean, the Primitive Man album out this week is pretty Halloween too.
Pretty haunted house, I'm guessing.
Yeah, I would say. I mean, it's definitely the heaviest album out this week is the Primitive Man. I mean, there's also not Halloween friendly, but there's a new Radioactivity. It's their first album in 10 years called Time Won't Bring Me Down. You know, they have members that are also in the Marked Men, and they're sort of like a cult classic indie pop punk band that are just like your favorite band's favorite band kind of thing. And their new record's awesome. Kia's sophomore album, Keiyaa, in case I'm saying that wrong, or if you're just like, what did he say? It's her sophomore album, also first in 5 years, so it's been a while. Also first for XL, much bigger label than her last was on. And it's this crazy mix of like neo soul, electronic music, bedroom pop. It's really, really cool. Aesop Rock surprise released his second album of the year. It's called I Heard It's a Mess There Too. And it's like the first album he did this year was like this like surrealist concept album. And this one is more like short and to the point, stripped back, just kind of like rapping over beats and really cool stuff. Gum, this punk band spelled Gumm, not to be confused with Gum spelled Gum, who also put out a song this week, who were related to like Pond and Tame Impala. But Gum, the punk band, Gumm, have a really good record out called Beneath the Wheel. Now surprise release their first EP, which was their first release in like 7 years. This is called 01. It's really good. Massa Nera, speaking of screamo, one of our favorite screamer bands for a while. They're from New Jersey. Their new record, The Emptiness of All Things, is out this week, and it's super intense. It's a really good week for new music. There's a lot of other stuff too. I haven't even heard the Florence and the Machine album yet, but that's out.
And what's it called?
It's called Everybody Scream.
Oh.
Yeah, look at that. Now, Bill has a handful of records that he recommends too. He reviews in Indie Basement on BrooklynVegan.com. One of which is the debut album from a new supergroup called Ashes and Diamonds, which is Daniel Ash from Bauhaus and Love and Rockets. So I'm sure that there's like some goth in there too, as well as Bruce Smith from Public Image and Paul Spencer Denman from Sade. And he says that if you like Love and Rockets, it's a must listen. So I would trust him on that. There's also in like somewhat of a similar boat, the new Charlatans record, which was actually produced by Dev Hynes from Blood Orange. So that's super interesting, as well as Blur and Smith's collaborator, Stephen Street. It's their 14th album, but definitely interesting to have the Dev thing in there. That's kind of hopefully gives them like a boost or a reboot with like maybe some new generations. The millionth Guided by Voices record is out this week. Apparently it's actually their 42nd. I think it's got to be more than that though. I demand a recount.
You throw in the solo albums, it definitely gets higher. It's
actually, wasn't it a few years ago that Robert Pollard hit 100 albums?
It might
I think that
sounds
yeah.
right.
So it's definitely over 100 if you include all the Robert Pollard albums. But yeah, apparently only 42nd for Guided by Voices. I think another like really interesting one to shout out is Daniel Avery's Tremor, it's his first for Domino. He's an electronic artist. This one gets a bit shoegazy and has so many cool guests, including Alison Mosshart from The Kills, Walter Streifels from Quicksand and Rival Schools, Yule Bedroom, spelled BDRMM. Lots of cool artists are on that. So this Australian band called the Bel Air Lip Bombs have just put out their first record for Third Man Records. It's called Again. It's kind of got both country and post-punk elements. And there's a lot of other cool stuff out this week. There's the new record by Musique, record by Pets, record by Christy Brood. Check out Indie Basement on Brooklyn Vegan. Bill talks about all those ones we just mentioned. Check out Notable Releases, where I talk about a bunch of the others we talked about earlier. So yeah, huge week for new albums. Lots to listen to in between all your Halloween parties.
Yeah, and just in time for Halloween, Robert Smith also just made an appearance. We're still looking forward to that new Cure album that he said is already done. But we also know he is a big fan of bands like the Twilight Sad, who just put out a new song that he plays guitar on. That's pretty cool.
Yeah. I mean, he may be one of the biggest Twilight Sad fans that I'm familiar with.
Yeah, and it's actually their first song in 7 years.
Yeah. It's definitely was cool to see that while we wait for the new Cure, for sure. Speaking of like orchestral music, did you hear the new Rosalia single?
I very much want to, but still didn't. I love her, and I love Bjork, and Yves Tumor as well. Or yeah, that's how you say it, right? Yeah,
they're both on the song.
Yeah, that's exciting to me automatically.
It's so the album, she's backed by the London Symphony Orchestra, and this song do you know how to, is it Berghain? I mean, that's got to be wrong, right? Berghain is
Berghain.
I
should know this.
I should, but it's basically like, it sounds like opera, like it's like full on opera, and then it like ends with this ending where it's basically a Bjork song. So it's very, very different for Rosalia. I don't know if you noticed this, but my Twitter For You feed, every like few weeks, there's like somebody on pop Twitter who like just like has to vent that they hate Bjork, which I can't believe still happens in 2020. Like, I get why that was like kind of a joke people made in like the late 90s, but like, I don't understand.
But are you really like validating these people or taking this seriously?
I just have to point it out because I see it all the time. And I think this song brought up, people were like, oh, she's ruining the song. But I just like, I shouldn't validate them or take them seriously, but I just, it's one of those things that I see and I get worked up. So I wish there was a way to set a filter for like, do not show me tweets from people who don't understand that Bjork at all. I don't want to see it.
I mean, as a longtime Bjork fan, who immediately took to Rosalia when first heard her, like, was that her first album, however many years ago? It makes total sense to me that Bjork is maybe an influence and somebody she respects a lot. And the fact that she has since validated that, now that then Rosalia has become massive, and the fact that she has now done at least 2 collaborations with Bjork, it's very awesome to see.
Yeah, absolutely awesome.
And Bjork doesn't pop up very often. So
no, I mean,
Bjork
I don't get it.
Yeah.
I don't understand why the pop community has it out for Bjork. Like, it's like, I mean, there's so much music that you would also hate that you just like probably aren't hearing. I don't know. It's very strange to me. I can't interact with people who think Bjork is like a failed attempt at music. So please leave my Twitter feed. An album that we've talked about being really, really excited for finally got announced this week, and that is the new Rap Boys album. It's called Sing Into an Empty Chair. It comes out in February on New West Records, which is their first for that label, following a bunch of releases on Top Shelf. It was co-produced by Chris Walla, formerly of Death Cab for Cutie, who also worked on their last album that we love so much. We love the first single, Light Night, Mountains, all that we talked about on a previous episode. And this week we got, with the announcement, comes a new song called Anywhere, which I think feels even more like a lead single. I think that
so we love that too.
We love it too. I'm really excited for new Rap Boys, which again, as we definitely have talked about, they are really important to this sort of like indie country crossover thing that has been like, again, as we approach year endless time, thinking about 2025. I mean, I'm going to remember this year as like maybe the best year yet for the whole kind of indie country crossover that we've seen kind of like unfolding throughout the early 2020s.
Definitely.
And I'm really excited. We're getting more Rap Boys soon. A couple other things we got this week song wise is Geologist has decided to end his stint as the only Animal Collective member without a solo record. So that comes out next year on Drag City. AV Tear from Animal Collective features on it. And the first single is Tonic, which is named after the defunct Lower East Side venue. So
yes, another great class, legendary New York City venue that I miss very much.
We talked about Pyramid Club. We talked about Tonic.
And
did we mention Studio B?
Yeah, there you go. Everybody go check out Bill's new interview with Soulwax on our other Brooklyn Vegan interviews, BV Interviews podcast, where they discuss, yes, the also defunct Studio B.
Yeah, it is.
I'm sure I went to Studio B and Tonic in the same year, at least.
Awesome.
Sometimes, but and you could go to Pyramid. Actually, Pyramid Club was still open when Studio B. It wasn't like maybe doing legendary things, but it was still there.
Yeah, I have been to none of those venues.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
It was a Tonic. Tonic means a lot to me, even as a BV thing, because I think I did a show, put together a show there, but also it was like known for experimental. It was like avant-garde jazz type place where like Thurston Moore would go and just play weird guitar stuff, and Mark Raybo would play a lot, and those kind of guys, and John Zorn. Actually, maybe it was John Zorn's club. And then this is like 15 years ago at least. I should have looked this up, but when it shut down, there were a lot of protests about it shutting down. It was very much like I don't remember why, but I guess it was like the landlord or whatever it was. And I remember Mark Raybo was very instrumental in those protests too. And I documented a lot of that. I'm Brooklyn Vegan at the time. I spent a lot of time there for the final shows and photographing the protests and stuff. So that was, you could go look that all up on BV.
Nice.
So I thought that was cool that Geologist named his song after Tonic.
Yes, definitely very cool. I always like to see those kinds of shout outs, even if it's for history that I personally didn't experience. And then one more song I'll shout out is Navy Blue, the kind of like experimental indie rapper, announced a new record this week called The Sword and the Soaring. It comes out in November. It has 16 songs with one guest, and that guest is Earl Sweatshirt, who's collaborated with Navy Blue a handful of times. And I really like the lead single Orchards, which is just sort of a blissfully jazzy rap song. Very, very good. What else happened this week, Dave?
Well, it's not this week, but since you just said Earl Sweatshirt, he does have a tour coming up. So look out for those dates. I know he's in New York City in December. Also, emo veterans, you say their name, Jejune?
I think it's Jejune or Jeju. Yeah.
Announced their first shows in over 25 years, taking place in Japan. I assume we won't have to go to Japan to see them because they have been very active lately with like the Numero group getting all their albums back out and all that. So now that they have shows, I think that's a little bit of confirmation that they're back. And though it's like a full Numero group lineup, I guess, in Japan, which is also includes the Album Leaf. Are they on that label?
I'm not sure, actually.
But long defunct emo band Ethel Meserve are also on that show, but that's actually not their first shows announced. They announced that they are also playing several States Fest in Chicago in January. So I think we'll see more from them as well. Ohio's Danny Wimmer Sonic Temple Festival has announced its 2026 lineup. I think that might be the first 2026 Danny Wimmer lineup we've seen yet. And it includes big names like My Chemical Romance, Tool, The Offspring, Megadeth, Public Enemy, Body Count, Sepultura, Napalm Death, and a zillion more. And then Touche Amore, meanwhile, announced an exciting tour, 10th anniversary tour for their Stage 4 album, very sad special album. And it's happening in partnership with the National Breast Cancer Foundation, which is definitely related to the theme of that album. And so those shows are probably on sale now. The Wedding Present announced a 35th anniversary tour for Sea Monsters with support from Unrest Mark Robinson, who will be performing a set of Unrest songs. Daft Punk's Thomas Bangalter did his first DJ gig in 16 years. Did I say his name right? With set with Fred again, Busy
You're
P,
gonna have to redo that.
and Errol Alkin in Paris.
Can you say that one more time?
A B set with Fred again, Busy P, and Errol Alkin in
All right.
Paris. Bay Area ska punk. Vets Dancehall Crashers have announced their first New York City shows since reuniting with support from Hepcat. And if you didn't get your tickets on the Brooklyn Vegan pre-sale, you can get them on the general public on sale now. Last but not least, there are no rap songs in the top 40 for the first time in 35 years. What does it mean?
That kind of shocks me.
Yeah, that is weird.
Yeah. But I guess it's true that I can't, it kind of has been a minute since I can think of like a real big rap hit, but still, I mean, that's, I wouldn't have seen that coming.
Meanwhile, Minus the Bear are still out on their Manos El Oso 20th anniversary tour, which I caught some of at Best Friends Forever Fest in Las Vegas, and which gets to New York City in like next week. So there's like 3 New York City dates now, right? I think
Something
at least
like that.
They might even all be sold out. At least one of them is November 9th at Irving Plaza. And if you can't be there, it will actually stream live on Veeps. You can also get the anniversary edition of that vinyl in shop.brooklynvegan.com. So yeah, it's been fun to partner up with Minus the Bear on some of this stuff in celebration of an album, especially Andrew, but we are huge fans of, and we're happy they're back. Also new to the shop, we just launched a new exclusive variant of one of our favorite albums of the year, the new Turnstile record. As well, if you want that Knicks-themed MF Doom action figure, we've got that in there as well. Head to shop.brooklynvegan.com. Go listen to BV Interviews podcast. Not more importantly, but please subscribe to this podcast. It helps, right? You've heard that before. Subscribe to BV Weekly wherever you subscribe, or subscribe to it everywhere. And we'll talk to you next week.
Thanks for tuning in. Dave and I will be back every Friday morning with new episodes of BV Weekly. And in between the episodes, you can always get much more from us at brooklynvegan.com, on all of our social media, including Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, TikTok. You can pick up records from us at shop.brooklynvegan.com. And if you like what you hear, tell your friends about us, subscribe to the show, give us a good rating. All that little stuff goes a really long way. It really helps us a lot, and we really appreciate it. So until then, thank you again, and see you next time.